So here we observe a grab of snack of rock host in his natural habitat reading about what he calls robots in the air. Good morning, Mike. Hello.
Good morning, Tim.
Well, morning, whatever time it is when this airs, it won't be morning. It'll be morning somewhere.
For those who want to know the behind the scenes stuff, we are recording this at 6 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time.
And there's not enough coffee to well, there is, but
No,
good
that'll
morning.
be empty.
Hey, everybody. Well, what a botched introduction that was. Welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. And we are on um, the latest Night Ranger deep dive. And man, I can't, it just seems like yesterday we were starting this. But of course, we're here to talk about a particular album, but, it's all about Sing Me Away, the Night Ranger album review. And Mr. Ladano is one of many who contributed to this book. And I appreciate those contributions greatly. Um, and I think it's safe to say that Mike was a relative newbie to Night Ranger. Am I correct? So,
Yeah.
so, so give me your prehistory, like before I started harassing you about this band, so to speak.
Well,
What was your knowledge of this band?
well, like many kids, I grew up hearing Sister Christian on the radio all the time, and I know we've joked about this before, but I used to think it was a song by Motorhead because I thought they were singing Motorhead. So I thought, oh, this must be
Kelly
Motorhead.
Kagi and Lemmy practically sound the same,
Of
right?
course, but I had no idea who Motorhead
I
were, so
know.
I
Yeah.
thought this must be that band called Motorhead. But
You're
then it
you piece things together when you're a kid based on what you know.
Right. And when I was growing up, I think Brad Gillis had just spent some time with Ozzy Osbourne. So I was aware of him. Like I'd seen him in a lot of music magazines, but I didn't really know a lot about Night Ranger because here we go, broken record that we've said this a million times. Here in Canada on the Pepsi Power Hour, they never played Night Ranger. And that was where I was getting most of my music from. They weren't in the rock magazines I was buying, like Metal Edge or Hit Parader or Rip. They weren't in those magazines either. So basically, Night Ranger were a band that I didn't really learn too much about until well into my adult years, and especially when you started sending me these wonderful CDs. I believe you sent me the greatest hits first.
Yeah, and then I ended up with a couple of spares. So I think I sent you Big Life
Yep,
and the album we're going to talk about, and then the latest one, ATBPL.
yep.
So yeah, and so we're here to talk about the 2014 album High Road because I think it's that one particularly connected with you, right?
Oh yeah, like this was a band that I was like, oh yeah, okay, I should have been listening to these guys ages ago. And when you sent me this album, I was blown away. And I don't have all the Night Ranger albums in my collection, but of the ones I do have, I'm on record as saying High Road is my favorite. And I've also made no secret of the fact that I am a Joel Hoekstra fan. I think he was great in Whitesnake, and I think he's just a really talented and really cool guy. And I love his guitar playing. And of course, I love Brad Gillis's guitar playing too. It's very unique and it has his own signature sound. But the team up of those two guys, it's magic. It's the perfect ingredients for this particular soup, and I really like this album.
Well, it worked for, the two albums that the two studio albums that Joel was on. By the way, I sent him the entire package, not just the CD itself. This is
Yes.
this is the album cover for High Road. And this is where I'm kicking myself because I had this in my hand on vinyl when it was out. I remember I was at Frank's Music in Moncton. It hadn't been out that long, so it was just regular price as a new record would be. Had to choose, and I chose poorly because this album goes for big bucks now. It's only been pressed the once on vinyl, really needs a repressing, as does its follow up. But this is the one I actually had in my hand. But the longer you look at this album cover, you see more and more. There are Easter eggs in here. Obviously that's the Golden Gate Bridge, and Night Ranger are a Bay Area band, but there are there are some hidden things on here, and with the CD age, it's not as easy. But I mean, you look, you see there's a satellite dish
Mhm.
up just above. There's a satellite dish, there's a peace sign. Um, you know, so yeah, I suppose there's probably a bunch of other things too. And then on the back cover, there's Well, there's more stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're here to talk about the album, and this was also on Frontiers, so they've been on Frontiers since Hole in the Sun, but really the Renaissance began with Somewhere in California in 2011. This is the follow-up album, so we're gonna go through it track by track and just talk about our thoughts on it. And I think that this album gets off, as most Night Ranger albums do. They always come out with a really good opening track, and a lot of times they open with a title song, and that's the case here with High Road. And I know Mike, when I sent the CDs, he came right back to me with this. He's like, "Oh, this is awesome." So yeah, what are your thoughts on this the song High Road?
No, it's funny. I was just reading my blurb about it in the book, and I said this is my favorite Night Ranger song, and it may still be. We'll get there, but it's definitely in the top two on this album. Uh, Frick, I love this song, Tim. The chorus,
Yeah,
it's so uplifting. It's so powerful. Like
it's
Jack.
like
Oh,
what is so great about it makes you feel good when you're listening. There's nothing negative going on here.
but there's also some serious melodic chops. Like this is the kind of song quality that you'd expect back in the heyday of 1989 from a hard
Yeah.
rock band. Jack is singing amazing on this. I don't know how the man has maintained his voice like that so many years. The guy's an incredible singer, and it struck me as a good, really solid, upbeat, hard rock song. And I think by and large, I think this album is probably harder edged than say a Damn Yankees album, even.
Well, yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. When I first heard this song, and it's still gonna stick with this I think would totally fit on either of those Damn
Yeah,
Yankees albums. It's got that there's a certain not that Night Ranger didn't do songs like this anyway, but there's something about the abandon with the way the chorus just opens up. It just reminds me
mm,
of something, especially the first Damn Yankees album. And you can, if you use your imagination, you can hear Tommy Shaw in the high parts. But
yeah.
I hear Kelly on the chorus of this, plain
Right,
as
he really
day.
thickens it up
Yeah,
really nice.
yeah.
But
But
what you touched on something there that I really like about the song, which is you've got these kind of reserved verses, da-na-na-na-na, da-da-da-da-da-na, and then on the chorus it just explodes. And that thick vocal with Jack and Kelly is just, as the kids say today, chef's kiss, you know?
yeah, well, and, and the chorus, yeah, you're right. If we're talking about guitar playing, it's like muted chords, like chick, 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 chick,
Yeah.
chick, 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 chick. But when the chorus hits, it's like those big open chords. Ba-dum, da-dum. Yeah, it just big arm swing and just let out. And it's. I'm happy to say that uh of the, let's say the Latter Day Night Ranger stuff, the stuff that wasn't on a major label, this song has probably had the longest run as a song that they would do live. And I can see why. It's very easy to get into. Can you say yeah? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need never have heard it before, and it just, it's a live favorite. So yeah, great way to open it. And the funny thing is, as I'm going out to the desert this weekend and all that,
Mm.
it sounds the exact opposite of this traffic jam we see on the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's almost like, man, as soon as I can get to the back roads, I am out of here. Uh,
That's right. That's right. That's a song
so
for after you've passed the traffic jam and you're on the highway.
yeah. Now next up is a song that in my experience from talking to a lot of people, feelings are mixed on this. Knock Knock, Never Stop. I cannot shake the Def Leppard isms in this song. Rock, rock till you drop. Rock, rock, never stop. Knock, knock, never stop. It's just too, for me, it's just a little, it hangs a little bit too close and it's a distraction from the rest of the song. The rest of the song doesn't sound like that. It's a hard rocking Night Ranger song, but I have such a hard time with that. And I'm sure it was just it's one of those things where as songwriters and as a band, you're jamming something out and you're like, hey, this sounds really good. And how can you think of every single song that's ever been recorded? You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
you might not know why it sounds so good, or maybe it sounds familiar. I don't know, but that's my opinion. Your thoughts?
Well, as you may know, because I think you've probably read the book, I compared a couple of songs in this album to Def
I
Leppard.
can't read
Yeah, little known fact, folks. Yeah,
five
no,
books, but I can't read.
I agree with just about everything you just said. I guess maybe the only thing I would add is instead of sounding like rock till you drop precisely, it maybe sounds like one of the many times they've tried to rewrite rock till you drop.
Well, yeah, that's true too. But sometimes that happens, and it's like no one's going to go out of their way to intentional, especially in this day and age. Nobody's going to intentionally rip somebody off. It's just not,
There's just only so many rock
yeah,
songs, so many permutations. And here's one. Here's one that
yeah.
is a little bit familiar, but as you said, the verses are different. I
I like
would
the
still,
riff. I like the
yeah.
riff to it. It's there's nothing inherently wrong with it. It's just that I get stuck on that. But if somebody's not a diehard Def Leppard fan, they're not going to hear that.
Listen, I get stuck on it too, but at the same time, there's an audience for this. When I was driving in the car with my wife Jen, listening to this song, she's digging it. It resonated because she's not oversaturated with that leopard stuff that you and I are, so she's digging it. And I got to admit that I don't dislike this song. I would rate it positively, and I think part of that is, again, I'm going back to those vocals when Jack and
Yeah.
Kelly just team up, and I'm sure the other guys sing backing vocals too. But
Yeah, Brad sings back up and Eric Levy and yeah, it's pretty good. Like they're a band of I think you could call them a band of singers.
I think a lot of maybe TVC viewers would pass on this song, but for the rock fan who just wants a good CD to throw in the car this summer, they'll probably just dig it.
Yeah. Yes, and sometimes it's like you're hung up on that, but that's it's your problem, not theirs,
That's
you
right.
know. It's funny, and I want to talk about this for a second. There's something that Sean Kelly, the great Sean Kelly, our friend from Coney Hatch, Lee Aaron, Helix, great great songwriter, just an all around great guy. He and I conducted an interview, which I actually aired as one of the deep dives, but it's transcribed in this book about him talking about Night Ranger's various guitar players. He talked about meeting Joel Hoekstra at Rocklahoma when he was playing with Helix, and Joel would have been with Night Ranger. And he said he was talking to him, and the whole time Joel was talking, he's playing like an unplugged electric guitar, and he's just blistering. And he said I couldn't even concentrate on what he was saying because he just kept and the way that Sean put it, he said this guy's got another gear. And I'm like that. Yeah, that's some musicians just do. They're just wired differently. And he probably, if you were to ask him, what did you just play? He'd be like, I don't know, I'm just noodling around.
Muscle memory. It's all
Muscle
muscle
memory.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he was the right guy to replace. He was absolutely the right guy to replace Jeff Watson. And to me, it's little wonder why David Coverdale came calling with a big fat check, you know. But
Yep.
anyway, next we've got Rolling On. I think this album pretty much goes from strength to strength. Don't I don't think it's quite as strong and consistent as Somewhere in California, but I still think it's quite good. Rolling On, your thoughts?
Solid.
Yeah,
Um, Workmanlike. It's not one of the album highlights for me. It doesn't stand out, but I mean, when it's playing, I'm banging along to it. That's three bangers in a row,
yeah.
and I think this album's very well sequenced, as we'll talk
I
about
think
when
it
we get.
is. Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
is. And that's been talked about.
Even
Uh,
when we get to these bonus tracks, I think we're really well sequenced.
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, I think this is a good song for the third slot, but
it's
to
a
me, it's a build up to something that's coming.
it's a simpler song, and it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, it's good. There's nothing I don't think other than the vocals and the overall guitar sound. There's nothing inherently Night Ranger about it. It sounds like a really good rock song that any really good rock band could
Yeah,
write.
well
There's
said.
nothing about it. There's none of that. There are some Night Ranger songs that you listen to them and like that is quintessential Night Ranger. Um, and this isn't one of them, but it's just a good rock song. And then I think I know what you're going with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna call it my favorite song on the album. I think it's the best song on the album. It's ballad doesn't do it justice.
No.
It's more of if you're going to call this a ballad, I'm going to call it a darker ballad. Don't live here anymore. This is the type of song that Night Ranger has in their toolkit, and it goes all the way back to the first album, Dawn Patrol. They have a song called "Call My Name," which is a very just powerful. It's not. There's nothing, absolutely nothing sappy about it. It just goes at a slower tempo. It's melodically stirring. I would call Rain Comes Crashing Down from Big Life the same type of song. This is in that vein. And Kelly's vocal performance on this is so heartfelt and
Mm.
so soulful. But this song takes you on a trip and drops you off at your next location. But I know you heard so many cool things in this that I never noticed before. So don't live here anymore, Mike. What when tell me about this when you first heard it and you're like,
Yeah.
what came to your mind?
Well, I mean, it's not like it just hits you all of a sudden because it starts off slow with this keyboard part. And now that I've listened to it more this week, it's very reminiscent of a keyboard part on Black Sabbath's Forbidden album on a song I Won't Die for You. Or I Won't Cry for You. I can't remember what it's called. I don't like that album very much, but it has this very nice keyboard part. It's
Does anybody
similar.
like that album? I've never heard it. I know it's the one that nobody likes.
The remix is better. I'll grant that. But anyway, that keyboard part on "Don't Live Here Anymore" at the opening is that melancholy keyboard part. It's very similar to the Sabbath thing. So you have this melancholy opening, and then it builds and it builds, and by the end of it, you're into something that's more akin to Rainbow or UFO or dare I say even Deep Purple, where you've got this heavy burning, just dramatic song
You
with
are,
big riffs.
yeah, you're hitting upon something. There's something very Euro about it.
Yeah, very Euro. A band like Europe, for example, could
Yeah,
do a song like this
yeah.
very, very well. I'm hearing a lot of, in Eric's keyboards especially, I'm hearing a lot of that Deep Rainbow kind of sound on a lot of this
Mm,
album. He's got a lot of really good stuff, and combined with the thick riffs that you get on this album, you do get sort of that latter day Rainbow, sort of Joe Lynn Turner era, Graham Bonnet era vibe on some songs, and I think
yeah.
that's cool. It's not something I
Even
expected going in.
even like Slaves and Masters, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah, stirring, emotional,
The lyrics
chord
are,
changes, and then there's the lyrics.
yeah, the lyrics are dark, and I don't know if it's, how much is his life and how much is just a character. But I used to be such an angry young man. That man don't live here anymore, and that's a dark. That's the first two lines.
Yeah,
That's dark.
it definitely sounds like, a door has been closed,
Yes, this is looking
and
back.
it could be looking way back because I know that if you again, we'll want to reference the Big Life album, which sounds nothing like this album, but the song "Better Let It Go" was Kelly's sort of confession of getting rid of some addiction issues that he had, and this might be him as a much older man looking back, saying, "I can't believe I used to do that."
Hmm.
But yeah, the great, the lyrics are great, and Night Ranger lyrics tend to be great. They tend to be very evocative, and you can, without the advent of video, you can make your own videos up in your mind. You can picture waking up hungover or thinking about, like the worst hangover you ever had, and you're like, I am glad that's in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, good on
Married
him.
to a great musical journey that this goes on. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, extremely compelling and not single material. It wouldn't have even been single material back in the day, but as an album track, and given the opportunity, this could have been a great live song because it could have been it's an opportunity for them to stretch out and really show that, hey, these are great players. They're not just great songwriters and singers. These are great players. And most of Night Ranger's songs top out at 4 minutes, and that's all that's required. But every once in a while, when they stretch out like this, I don't have it in front of me. I don't know how long this is, but it feels like by the time it gets to the end that you've really experienced something, and it almost feels cathartic.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, yeah, well said. It's a journey, it's an album epic, and it's the centerpiece.
and again, it kills me that Frontiers Records has done some great things, and I think that they've reintroduced some great bands and some good new bands, but there's a ceiling. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I myself have never come across a Frontiers. album in, say, a Walmart or somewhere mainstream like that. They just don't, it's an Italian company, and unless it's an import, which makes it more money, it's just a shame that these latter day releases, kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this book. They need a wider spotlight cast on them, but also on the flip side of that, the fact that these guys put so much blood, sweat, and tears into crafting these songs on these albums that are like treasures for the few. There's a professionalism there that I admire. So,
Yeah.
in case you guys can't figure this out, we like this song
And album.
and album. But if nothing else, go listen to "Don't Live Here Anymore." So let's move on. I'm
Ooh,
I'm coming home.
yeah. So I said earlier that High Road might be my favorite song on the album, but might not. I think I'm Coming Home is the other contender. That chorus just slams. And again, it's a lot of it is Jack's vocal. This is just an incredible song. I'm coming home. It's great. Lyrics
Actually,
are
they're
great.
both they're both really singing very strongly in this chorus. I think it's well, they sing in harmony so well. Sometimes it's hard to pick them up because they just become this Night Ranger voice.
Yeah. The verses on this are really strong.
Yeah,
Kelly's drum pattern on this just it hits everything about this song. It's definitely a favorite of mine.
yeah,
Contender for the number one song in the album, I'm Coming Home. But think about this in terms of side one and side two. Not including the bonus tracks. We'll exclude those. So this would be the side one closer back in the day on a cassette. What a closer! Oh my God!
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And it's interesting because Night Ranger, a lot of times they'd close side one with a ballad. It did that a
yeah.
lot, but yeah, but not always. I mean, the first album closed with Eddie's Coming Out Tonight, so that's definitely it's not a rule book. It kind of became that, but so next up we have an interesting track lyrically, X Generation. Now this is one where the lyrics are I kind of tilt my head and go, what are they getting at here? I like the guitar melody. Like I like that guitar melody. Lyrics are kind of interesting. Um, I think it's catchy.
It
What about
is
you?
catchy, but it doesn't really do it for me. I like the guitar part that burn it and burn it.
Yeah, that's like that to
Yeah,
me, that's the highlight. Like that's a really cool that keeps you going in it. That keeps you
yeah.
interested. It's not a bad track. It's just I think it's the first time we've seen something that was a little bit
I like the verses better than the chorus.
well there's not a lot to the chorus. The chorus
Yeah,
just repeats and yeah.
it's
Um,
one thing. Yeah,
it's one thing. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's like yeah. Maybe it's because X generate it's a kind of it's an awkward uh sings awkwardly.
yeah.
I mean, I'm
You
glad they didn't call it Generation X on the other
right.
hand, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I think I see what they were grasping for, but maybe wasn't quite there. I don't know.
I don't know what they were grasping for, Tim. I'm assuming it's about our generation, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
16 candles on the floor. I don't know. I saw that movie.
Well,
I
see,
don't
now
know.
there is an interesting correlation there because it's not on the soundtrack, but "Rumors in the Air" is played during the
Ah,
movie.
well,
It's not
that's
on the
interesting.
soundtrack though. Yeah, sorry, Mike. "Robots in the Air."
Yeah, so for those who don't understand the joke, the first time I heard the song, I emailed Tim and I'm like, sounds like they're singing robots in the air. But anyway,
And
that's
that reminds me, you guys, if you haven't seen it, you need to check out the promo that Mike threw together, the stop motion promo using his Transformers, uh, opening the book out of the Amazon package. It's so good. Anyway,
Thank you. Thank you.
so next up we have the first. I'm going to call it a more traditional
Yeah.
sounding Night Ranger ballad with "Only for You Only," and that repetition works in this title.
Well, tonight
Repetition.
I'm gonna rock you tonight. But
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. But it especially for I don't know, it just reinforces it. But um this is mentioned in the book. When I heard this, it reminds me of Not Enough by Van Halen. The blend dun
okay,
dun dun
yeah.
dun like that sort of descending piano line, and that's not a bad thing in my opinion. But what I've really I mean, I like the song, but I like the fact that Jack takes the vocal on this one because Kelly sings a lot of the ballads because he's so good at it, but Jack can perfectly handle a song like this.
Mm.
Um, the falsetto is great. When he goes, there's a vulnerability there when a guy goes into a falsetto. It's like you better nail this, and I'd say he does.
I love this song.
Yeah.
It's not really usually my cup of tea would be a song like this, but like you said, it's the traditional ballad. I think it's the Sister Christian of the album, to use a cliche. There's a couple piano chords actually that remind me of Sister Christian on this song, but I think it's a really nice ballad. It's perfect in this slot, which would be second track side two, but it kind of breaks up the album a bit because we've had a lot of slamming tracks, and then we had an epic, and then we had a couple more slamming tracks. So
Yeah. This
here's
is
a
a bit of a
nice,
breather.
yeah, it's a really nice song. And like I said, I don't normally spotlight a ballad like this as a favorite, but it really jumps out. It really grabs you.
Yeah, it's very well done. Next up, apparently, my understanding is this song, in some embryonic form anyway, has been kicking around since the very beginning of Night Ranger. The song's Hang On. Um,
Huh.
Now, the first thing I noticed on this was the opening lyric, Bluestone Monday, Day Like Any Other Day. That immediately made me think of Foreigner because they've got Blue Morning, Blue Day, and then Day Like Any Other Day is a lyric from one of my favorite songs of theirs, Long, Long Way From Home. But this is Hang On to me is kind of like Rolling On once it kicks in. It's just a slow rocker and it's perfectly fine, I think.
Yeah, what you said. It's kind of a song to bridge two songs, I think, in a way. It's not one of those songs that I would, if you were ranking the album, it wouldn't be in the top half for me, but it's a good one. There's nothing wrong with it. And to me, it just bridges two songs that are a little bit more unique, a little bit more attention grabbing.
Yeah, it's interesting because whenever you hear about a band, Van Halen's a good example, going back to really, really early songs, you have to wonder why. It's like, well, did they need just more songs to fill out the album, or did they come across, hey, you remember that thing we used to do that started like this? What if we joined that with this other piece that somebody's, you don't know.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting to find out more about that. Now, next up is a really interesting song in terms of title. And it's one of those songs where I don't think the title said anywhere in the lyric is Saint Bartholomew. I like the song, and it's very, to me, excuse me, it's a very traditional Night Ranger sounding, but I'm not so sure what it's about.
Well, there is a line here. I'm no Saint Bartholomew. That ain't me.
Oh,
So there is a line there. But I really like that hook. Everybody has a cross to bear. That's sort of the main hook rather than the Saint
yeah.
Bartholomew part.
Come
I
down. Is that the Come Down to Me? That's this song, right? Come
Yeah,
down to me.
come
Yeah.
down on me. I'm no Saint Bartholomew. That ain't me.
Geez, I didn't even realize they said that. I should actually pay attention.
I like it. I don't know what
This
he's
guy wrote
singing
a book
about.
on this band. He doesn't even know the frickin' lyrics.
No kidding. This
What a
is a
hack.
what an ad for the book, eh?
That
I
guy.
like it. It's a good heavy tune. Maybe a little angry. I don't know. It's hard to, like I said, or like you said, it's hard to know exactly what the lyrics
On
are
this
about.
album, it sounds angry. If you put this on Hole in the Sun, it'd be like, wow, they've lightened up a little bit. I'm sorry. I got it in for that album. I'm sorry.
Uh,
It's, yeah.
that's okay. I don't
Uh,
know.
Now,
I like
next,
it.
so next up, we get a totally different feel, and I guess this is the proper album closer, Brothers.
Right. I consider this the album closer. It's a little bit slower, isn't it?
Yeah.
And a little bit more moody. And I think it's a really nice way to go out on this album, especially after a banger. I like the way this album is sequenced. Yeah, Brothers is a good closer. It's a good track. Um, I don't know what to say. Yeah, it's a good closer.
It's a sing along. It's got like the Hey Jude type
Yeah,
sing
yeah,
along.
sorry, that is a good
Yeah.
point. There's some Beatles going on here for
Yeah.
sure. There's a
And
lot of
that
Beatles.
and I think that, I mean, these guys are of a generation where they all grew up, And when I was on Black Spinner Circle a few weeks ago, I was reminded of something I'd forgotten about. I forgot Jack Blades did a stint with Ringo Starr's All-Star Band. I forgot about that.
So many people have done stints with the
Like
All-Star
I
Band.
knew
You can't keep
Lukather was
track.
there and Greg
Yeah.
Raleigh and Colin Hay and Richard Marx, but I totally forgot Jack did that. And I'm like, what a thrill that must have been
Oh,
for
for
him.
sure. Playing
Yeah.
those songs with those guys on
Yeah.
stage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now this is interesting because I mean, when this came out, I just ordered it and got the version that I got.
Right.
It's got two bonus tracks on it.
Right. So I have a different version from you. Yours is a CD DVD combo, I think it said.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Yeah.
I have the same two audio bonus tracks, LA No Name and Mountain Song. not a Jane's Addiction cover.
No, that was my first thought too. Like,
But
okay.
of these two, LA No Name is really
Woo!
is really special.
LA No Name is this fantastic acoustic guitar duel
Right.
between Brad and Joel. And I think it was you that said I'd listen to an album of stuff like this.
Oh God, I would.
Yeah.
But you know what this reminds me of? And this is something that kind of hit me this week. Remember when you in the late 80s and early 90s you'd buy a new album by say Badlands or Slaughter, and they would have this really nice acoustic number somewhere hidden on the
Oh
album,
yeah, yeah,
sometimes as a bonus track like
yeah.
this. But I always used to look forward to those tracks when I bought an album in the late 80s and early 90s. Aerosmith did some of those where you get this nice little acoustic track. This is a much more fully fleshed out idea rather than an interlude. This is
Yeah,
a
it's
fully fleshed out
this is
instrumental
like
song.
stuff that Rick Emmett would do on the Triumph
Right.
albums, like Midsummer's Daydream and you know all of those.
Yeah,
But
there's a little bit of a neoclassical vibe going on
yeah,
here. Obviously, those two guys are some of the two of the greatest players in hard rock, and
it's interesting to me that there aren't a lot of all acoustic things on these albums. But it's interesting that they've gone this far into their career, like, you know, Brad especially, and they've never done anything like this as an instrumental. Not, I don't think. But man, it's great. Um, and then Mountain Song is just a rocker.
yeah,
It's it
it's a second
reminds
closer. It's a
it
second closer.
reminds me a lot of the song Halfway to the Sun, um, from Man in Motion. I've been to the mountain. Watch out, little sister. Like it just kind of has that feel to it, but not too much. But the weird thing about it, and this is something that I have to thank the gang at the Fans in Motion podcast for, I did not realize that there's a bonus song.
Right.
And to me, this should have fit. This could have replaced something on the main album. I don't want to say what, but I just think it's stronger, and it's "Don't Even Know Your Name." I think that's a great song.
Yeah, I didn't listen to that one. I only listened
Boy,
to,
look
like,
at
say,
the
the I
time.
know. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So this guy didn't read the lyrics, and I didn't listen to the what is that? A
Yeah,
Japanese bonus track, or
it
what
must
region
be.
is that?
It must be. I and when in doubt, it's got to be the Japanese version, right?
Right. Usually. Well,
But
there's some really weird, like, there's always those weird releases that have one in some European country. One single European country got a bonus track and stuff like that.
oh yeah, you got to
Uh,
get the Singapore version to get
right.
all
Something
of the song.
crazy. There's always releases like that to
Yeah,
drive us nuts.
yeah.
But I
Now
would
these drive me nuts and more say than they do Mike because poor Mike, if it's a live version or if it's an acoustic version or it's a remake of a song that already exists, those don't trigger me so much. But this is a
right.
whole other song, a
Right.
fully recorded whole other song. Those are the ones that go, you know, why isn't this one
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
digital only? Don't even get me started.
Right, right. And, back in the olden days, there would have been a CD single with some of these bonus tracks included. That's usually how it went. But
Yes.
it's not like there's Frontiers is going to print a CD single for a new Night Ranger album. No, unfortunately not. That's not the
I
way it
wish
works.
that, you know, it would be so great if eventually they could get something out there in physical form with all of those hidden, you know, like uh what is it, Crazy World and you know the Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap remake, the Coming of Age remake and of these, you know, and then the two
Yeah.
songs that Wasted Time and Free, which you know, but anyway, as an album. And by the way,
Hmm.
the version that Mike has, yeah, the version I have has videos for High Road and Knock Knock Never Stop, which are basically they're both filmed. I think they were both filmed at Jack's place. One's filmed outside, one's filmed in his barn, which is also his studio. And then there's a little EPAC, what they used to call EPACs or EPKs on the making of the album. So it's cool.
Electronic press kit is what that
That's right.
was.
That's right. Thank you.
Electronic
Thank you.
press kit.
So that's our, you know, basically we're saying that we're in 2014 now and these guys are rolling on. They're on a roll creatively, and they're putting out entertaining albums that need more people to look
They
at them
really
and buy
do.
them. Yeah.
And it is unfortunate, as you said, that these have no plans of reissue currently. You could do deluxe editions. You could do a Night Rangers Latter Days box set. There's so many alternatives.
You know, it's
Uh,
really weird that Frontiers hasn't put out some sort of two-disc best of because they've got acoustic and they've got live versions of the classic tracks,
yeah,
and then they've got pretty substantial catalog of stuff that's on their own label that they wouldn't have to license. But, and I think that would be an entertaining, package for fans. But,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things, I guess.
Frontiers.
Yeah.
Frontiers, are you listening?
However, I will say this, 10 years after it came out, somewhere in California did finally get a vinyl release and a very
Yeah.
nicely done one. So who knows? So, folks, that's our thoughts on High Road, which is one of the many chapters, one of 13 chapters in this book, Sing Me Away, the Night Ranger album review. Now, is there anything? I'm trying to remember if there was anything on this front or back cover that referenced High Road. And other than the satellite dish, which came from Dawn Patrol to begin with, although, hold on, well, there's a moon on here. Anyway, let's not waste any time here. But kudos to Matt, our good friend Matt Phillips, Go North Design, for kicking serious butt with the cover once again. And thanks to everybody, including Mike, that contributed to this. I'll have the link to order this below. And yeah, we're just about wrapped up the Night Ranger deep dive, which is hard to believe. But Mike, thanks for coming on, talking about this fantastic album. I always knew that you were the guy I wanted to have talk about this album. You've got Grab a Stack of Rock. Talk to us about Grab a Stack of Rock. For those who, for some reason, aren't familiar, they need to be. They need to subscribe. Uh, you're still you're still knee deep in Iron Maiden, right?
Thank you for sending me this, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey.
But yeah, we're knee deep in 50 years of Iron Maiden. We'll probably be doing it for the entire rest of the year and a little bit into next year to cover basically every single release that Iron Maiden have ever physically done officially. And so far, we have tackled every B-side, every track on every compilation, and we're just going to keep on rolling through the year.
Awesome. So yeah, check it out. Lots of other great content too. Grab a stack of rock. I have one more question, Mike. Behind you,
Hmm.
I see a guitar. I see an Inukshuk. And is that Nine Numb from
Yeah.
Return? That's what I
So,
thought.
so this was a gift from one of your book contributors, a guy by the name of Darcy Briggs, and he sent me Nien Nunb.
Nien Numb, Lando's co-pilot on
Yeah,
Return of the
and I've
Jedi.
I've kept him there for I think he's been there almost a year now, maybe even over a year. But that's just my little buddy that Darcy sent me, and I like to keep him there as a memento and a thank you to Darcy.
Awesome. Yeah, check out Darcy Ska, I think is his.
Darcy Scott.
Yeah, cool. All right. Thank you, Mike. And thanks everybody for watching. We will see you later.